This is a Wisconsin Sports Zone update.
Well, the Packers are playing a game on Sunday in Minnesota that is largely meaningless as they are set to be the number 7 seed in the playoffs and hit the road for the first round against either Chicago or Philadelphia next weekend. Because of that, along with how beat up the team is, Coach Matt LaFleur has been tasked with figuring out who should play on Sunday and who shouldn't, while still coming up with a way for the team to stay sharp in advance of the wild card round.
Here's what I told the team. We have 53 spots on our roster. You can have 2 call-ups. You have 48 dressed on game day. So there's going to be some starters that aren't going to play. Shoot, they may not suit up. They might suit up. And then you're going to have some starters that are going to play. So basically, you guys will find out on Sunday who's playing.
Packers do have a new quarterback. Former Atlanta starter Desmond Ridder has been brought in to join Clayton Tune as the lone healthy quarterbacks on the roster right now. Jordan Love still hasn't cleared through concussion protocol, though he is practicing, while Malik Willis dealing with a shoulder injury that has him limited at practice. Ridder was most recently on the Vikings practice squad. The last time he played in a game was last year for the Raiders. Again, the Packers and Vikings on Sunday in Minneapolis. Kick is set for noon.
Some of America's bravest warriors are returning home wounded. Here's one of them.
My name is Norberto Lara. While I was on a combat patrol, a rocket propelled grenade took my arm off at the shoulder. I was discharged from the Army, and I've been working with the Wounded Warrior Project since 2007. You don't have to be severely wounded. A lot of guys have post-traumatic stress disorder. Being able to share your story kind of helps you wrap your mind around what did happen over there. My name is Norby, and yes, I do suffer from post-traumatic stress disorder, but I'm okay.
Don't suffer in silence. Contact woundedwarriorproject.org.
Well, the Bucks will host the Wizards tonight at Fiserv Forum. Milwaukee has won a couple in a row since the return of Giannis Antetokounmpo. Tip is set for 7. And Wisconsin gearing up to jump back into Big Ten play with a visit from number 5 Purdue coming up on Saturday night. With this Wisconsin Sports Zone Network update, I'm Zach Heil.
Is it a relatively easy decision to go the direction you're going, or did you weigh it pretty hard? I mean,
I think you always put a lot of thought into it, especially, it's an important decision. But I do think, obviously, medical is going to drive some of these decisions for us. It is what it is, and you just got to make the best of it. And then you got to make collectively the best decision, what you think puts your team in the best position possible moving forward. Give Baltimore a ton of credit. They came in here and were in complete control of the whole game. It wasn't up to our standard in regards to how we played, how we coached, and that's what happens.
This is where Wisconsin gathers to talk sports. Packers, Brewers, Badgers, Bucks. The Wisco Sports Show is on the air. Now, here's your host, Grant Bills.
Some sound from Matt LaFleur earlier today, just kind of giving a stock answer about his decision on who to play, who to sit, who to rest, how they want to go about this final week. And a lot of it will be, as he said, medical. Like Jordan Love is still in the concussion protocol. And we can debate whether or not the Packers really want him to play at all on Sunday. I don't think they do. But if he's in protocol, he's in protocol. That takes the decision out of their hands completely, which for Matt LaFleur might be best. Like the more time he has to stew on this and the more time he has to think about this decision might actually be for the worst. So Matt LaFleur there, the question from Jason Wilde in his presser earlier today. We'll hear more from that presser as the show goes along. This is the Wisco Sports Show. My name is Grant Bills. Happy you were here. Happy New Year's Eve. I started Bill's show earlier today at 10 o'clock, and he asked, Grant, what kind of 2025 did you have? And I think it's my generation's thing. And I think, so I'm right between Gen Z and millennial. Like, I don't know that I really fit perfectly in either generation. I think it is everyone who's younger than me and everyone who's older than me, maybe to the age like 40. It's just our general premise that every year sucks. Like, I can't remember the last time we closed out a calendar year and everyone on social media, which is the only place where life exists or life matters to people my age. I can't remember the last time we closed out a year and everyone on social media was like, damn, this year was so good. I'm bummed it has to end. No, it's the opposite. It's everyone saying this year sucked. It can't be over fast enough. I'm so happy this year is done. On to the next. And then 2 weeks into 2026, we'll already be like, this year's even worse than last year. Like everything sucks and is bad. But the thing is, the interesting thing about the human condition, and I tweeted something about this yesterday at Wisco Grant, if you're interested in more of this. I said that this is just kind of the human condition. We are cursed to look back at every year that has passed, missing that year. I think I mentioned this last night about 2016. It's now 10 years ago. And I look back at 2016, like I don't know if life was ever better than in 2016. It was incredible. Drake had just come out with Views. I had just graduated high school. Life was good, man. Like life was so good. And I think in the moment in 2016, everyone was probably talking about how bad 2016 was and how badly we wanted to get to 2017. I think we close every year thinking, man, that year sucked. Can't wait to move on. But then in 5 years, 10 years, we look back, it's like, man, I miss that year. So I know when we get to 2030, I'm going to be sitting around thinking, man, I miss 2025. If only we could go back to 2025. So I talked a little bit about that with Bill earlier today. Now, I have a lot of Packers things that I want to discuss tonight. No guests. Jesse Temple, we're going to do his appearance on Friday. It was just really busy today, just a logistical thing. So, and I don't like doing Jesse on short notice because I like having well thought out, prepared questions for Jesse, as I've explained in the past. Like Jesse's hardcore reporter. And I feel like if I'm not asking specific questions, we're kind of wasting our time with him. So we'll do that on Friday and not tonight. So plenty of time to take your calls. I don't really have any year in review stuff. You know, I see tweets from other sports talk stations or other shows. It's like our favorite sports moments from 2025. I don't really have any of that. I put together a best of show for tomorrow, which is some of my favorite segments from the year or some of the most meaningful segments from the year. But for tonight, I don't really have any New Year stuff. If you would like to call in and be like, hey, I remember that day where we talked about this and you would like to reminisce, I will do that. More than happy to do that tonight, but you got to bring that to the table. So if that's something you want to do, knock yourself out. The phone number is 608-321-1670. And you can text that number too. You can comment on the live stream, which is always up and running on the Wisco Sports Zone app, which I used this morning to listen to the Steppies. Oh, one of my favorite shows on our network all year is when Ebo does the Over the Line Awards. And congratulations, by the way, to RJ, who I don't think has ever been on this show. Maybe he's around the corner in his office, although it's New Year's Day. I don't think anybody's left in this building. I think it's me and maybe Kate's down the hall doing traffic, but that's about it at this point of the day before a holiday. But RJ won the Lifetime Achievement Award. Mr. Camp Randall, man, did you hear that? I didn't realize he has been to every game at Camp Randall except for one since 1989. So cheers to RJ. Mr. Camp Randall, man, the Steppy, the Lifetime Achievement Steppy. Dave from Monona taking home Caller of the Year, which has been previously won by Vagabond John. And 2 years ago, who was it? I can't remember. I think it was it posthumously awarded to Charlie down the middle? Johnson, I think, is a former Caller of the Year. Sasquatch Mike getting Call of the Year for the tales about his, how do I say, his prostate massage in the Philippines once upon a time, which I think I played that call on the show because it's just an outrageous piece of audio. So the Steppies were great. I listened this morning on the Wisco Sports Zone app. Download that thing. You can listen and watch the live stream always, and you can do that on Twitter at Wisco Grant. That's my Twitter account, like I said, and on the YouTube account as well. Let's listen to the beginning of Matt LaFleur. Oh, before we do that, I forgot. Breaking news within the last hour. I almost forgot this. Holy smokes. The Packers claimed Trevon Diggs, the corner that the Cowboys released yesterday or the day before. Now, I have mixed feelings about this. It is a very low-risk investment. They're going to cut him at the end of the year. His guaranteed money is mostly gone. I think what this amounts to, not that it's my money, but this is something that you have to consider when you're claiming a player, you know, especially if they have future money or this is going to cost, you know, down the road. Basically, it's about $500,000 for the rest of the season, and then that's it. The Packers could release him with no financial penalty. So the Cowboys released him. He has been bad this year. I saw Matt Schneidman, covers the Packers for The Athletic, tweeted 40 minutes ago, Trevon Diggs has no interceptions or pass breakups in 8 games this season. Per PFF, opposing quarterbacks have a perfect 158.3 passer rating on 20 targets against him. He has 1 tackle for a loss, and that tackle for a loss came against the Packers with 30 seconds left in overtime. Now, that tackle for a loss was made possible by the fact that the Packers were throwing the ball behind the line of scrimmage in overtime with the clock running down. So maybe the Packers were complicit in that tackle for a loss. Although Trevon Diggs had to make it, I think the Packers played a little bit of a role in that play, which was his only positive play through 8 games of his season in 2025, soon to be 2026. I mean, it's fine. It's low risk, and if he stinks, they don't have to play him. And if he gives them anything, great. I bristle a little bit when people say, "Well, it can't be worse. Can't be worse than Keyshawn Nixon and Carrington Valentine." I think it could be worse. We talked about this with Reef Hassan a couple of weeks ago. It can always get worse. That's the most important life lesson. The life lesson that we mostly discuss with the Brewers, but I think it's important and worthwhile and worth mentioning really in all facets of life. It can always get worse, folks. It can absolutely always get worse. It can't get a lot worse. Carrington Valentine played one of the worst games I think I've seen a Packers corner play in recent memory on Saturday night. I, for the most part, am the Keyshawn Nixon defender, it feels like, in Packers fandom. I'm not telling you he's an all-pro, but I think he's been a lot better at outside corner this year and last year than most Packers fans would lead you to believe. Doesn't mean he's awesome, but I think the overwhelming discussion or the discussion and the overarching discussion about Keyshawn Nixon is much more negative than it should be. Whatever. With the injury to Kamal Hadden, and now they're playing Bo Melton back at corner again in practice, I saw today, which don't even get me started on Bo Melton's role on this team and his forced role on the offense. They need another body. They're super banged up. It makes sense. The reason I don't really like it is because I was kind of hoping that that behind closed doors in Green Bay, Brian Gutekunst was like, no, I got a plan. We have this figured out. We've prepared for this. Because a lot of times in the NFL, and I said this to Bill yesterday, when big name players become available, teams don't jump on them like they do in other leagues, especially in the NBA. Like in the NBA, if the NBA equivalent of Trevon Diggs became available, he would be on a team instantly. Some team would, the Lakers or the Clippers or, whoever. There'd be some team that's like, well, it's Trevon Diggs. What do you mean? Of course he can help us. Probably he can't. But in the NBA, right, if you have a name and we're good once upon a time, you're on a team. You're on a roster. That's how it works. But in the NFL, right, a lot of times general managers prefer their practice squad guy. They prefer their undrafted free agent who's at the bottom of the depth chart. They prefer, like, general managers in the NFL behave much more differently than general managers in the NBA. And the fact that there was nobody left, and maybe that guy was Kamal Hadden. If Kamal Hadden hadn't blown out his Achilles ankle, I think he had an ankle injury, real gruesome ankle injury. If Kamal Hadden was still healthy, I don't know if Trevon Diggs would be here. Because I think every team and every general manager in football has some Kamal Hadden-like guy. They're like, no, we identified this guy in the offseason, and we think he's good. We're going to stick with our guy. We don't need to go outside the building. And the fact that Brian Gutekunst clearly believed he needed to go outside the building signals to me like, yeah, they're down bad with injuries. Justice Mosqueda at Acme Packing put out a story about a half an hour ago. I really like Justice's stuff. He pointed out a bunch of connections between Trevon Diggs and the Packers. It makes sense. He was teammates and very close friends with Micah Parsons. Micah Parsons has been tweeting about this. He also shares an agent with Jordan Love, Xavier McKinney, and I believe David Mulligetta. He's Athletes First. I think he's Micah Parsons' agent as well. And also, I forgot about this connection. Derek Ainsley is the Packers passing game coordinator. He was recruited by Derek Ainsley at Alabama when Trevon Diggs played college ball. So that makes sense. There's a bunch of connections. I don't know if he ends up playing at all or being any good, but they need bodies. And the fact that Brian Gutekunst broke down and called him and brought him in is like, oh, okay, so you guys really are down bad. The Packers announced today, by the way, Nate Hobbs is done for the year, Zane Anderson done for the year, Kamal Hadden done for the year, and is it Jordan Riley, the defensive lineman? Yeah, Achilles is out. So the Packers suffered 4 season-ending injuries on Saturday night. Woof. The most frustrating of those injuries, Zane Anderson's a core special teamer, and he's actually popped okay at safety when he's had to actually play defense. Jordan Riley is a good rotational player along the defensive line. Good, like just another body in a position group where they need bodies. Kamal Hadden, of course, is good depth, but the Nate Hobbs injury annoys me and sticks in my craw even more because they had this guy returning kicks. They had him returning kicks on special teams. He's a guy who hasn't been healthy the entire year and has been dealing with a knee problem the entire year. Remember, he had surgery before the season started. And Rich Bisaccia, in all of his wisdom, is like, that's the guy I want back there on kick return. And you might say, well, Grant, who else do you want them to put back there? Bo Melton. Bo Melton and Emmanuel Wilson. Bo Melton and whoever. Matthew Golden. If you're not going to use him on offense, use him on special teams. Like anybody other than the guy whose knee is held together by duct tape. I'm not saying that Nate Hobbs got hurt because he, returned a couple of kicks. It's that lack of process or lack of clear direction on special teams that really bothers me. Like, so we have the guy with a history of concussions fielding an onside kick, and we have a guy with a shredded knee returning kicks. The guy we paid a bunch of money, by the way. It would be one thing if if Nate Hobbs was some core special teamer. Like, it'd be one thing if he was Zane Anderson and he's dealing with a knee injury. Well, Zane Anderson exists to play special teams. Nate Hobbs doesn't exist to play special teams. He exists to help you on defense. And he's been gutting through a knee injury all year, and you throw him back there to return. So that just frustrated me. Here, for housekeeping purposes, we can listen to the first minute or two of Matt LaFleur's presser earlier today. Just some injury updates and some things that are worth covering and mentioning before we take our first break and get to some phone calls.
Where do you at quarterback-wise?
Well, we've got 4 guys on our roster. That's where we're at.
Is Jordan going to practice? Is he in the protocol? Where are you at?
He'll practice today. He's still is yet to be cleared, but he'll practice today.
What can Desmond give you with this short of?
We'll find out. I mean, luckily,
Desmond Ridder, by the way, was added to the Packers roster. I think he'll probably play on Sunday. What the heck?
for all of us, he's had experience in similar systems in regards to he was with Vegas last year with Getsy. He's been in Atlanta with Arthur Smith, and Arthur and I have obviously worked together before. So there is some common language, I would say. I know I was just talking to him. He was in Minnesota, and I'm sure that Kevin's got some common language that we use that dates back to when we were all together or when we were at separate times with Sean in LA. So he seems like a smart guy, and we'll see how fast he can pick it up.
He seems like a smart guy. The funny thing is, well, he probably knows the language a little bit because, going back to my time with Sean McVay, dude, it's either sign Desmond Ridder or play Clayton Tune for 4 quarters on Sunday. Like, the language is a nice, secondarily, that's nice, but let's not act like, whatever.
Is Malik going to practice?
He'll be limited.
Is your inclination to play or sit, Love?
Well, let's just get through the week and see where we're at. Here's what I told the team. We have 53 spots on our roster. You can have 2 call-ups. You have 48 dressed on game day. So there's going to be some starters that aren't going to play. They may not suit up. They might suit up. And then you're going to have some starters that are going to play. So basically, you guys will find out on Sunday who's playing.
Okay, so there's just some housekeeping items from Matt LaFleur. There's a back and forth with him and Mike Clemens that I think is worth getting into. There's a couple of parts of this presser we'll pick at. But for the most part, I just wanted to get that baseline information under our belt before we continue with the rest of the show. I do have some overarching Packers takes that I want to talk about, including some things they need to get right for the postseason. And also, just on a franchise level moving forward, I think I've been pretty clear with my disappointment about how this season has progressed. And although it's not ended, it's ended the regular season as them as the 7th seed. And I think that's kind of pathetic in a lot of different ways for the expectations and the possibilities and the opportunities they had this year for a better outcome. So that's all on the other side of this break. I'll get to your phone calls right after this, 608-321-1670. And if there's any reflecting you would like to do, anything that's taken place in Wisconsin sports around the show over the last year, that's on the table, but you got to bring it to the table. So to your phone calls and all of that coming up next.
This is the Wisco Sports Show with Grant Bills on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 3 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 2 minutes. Wisco Sports Show will resume in 1 minute. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 30 seconds.
Well, the message all year round is be ready. But at some point, you must have said to the players today, depending on how this game goes, be ready. There's a great opportunity for some younger guys to get some snaps Sunday.
Yeah, it's a great opportunity. A little under the weather today, Mike?
A little bit.
Sorry, man. Can somebody get this guy, some medicine? But
Little exchange, Mike Clemens, Matt LaFleur. Matt LaFleur putting him on blast for being a little stuffed up. Mike Clemens told me and Bill, it's like, I think I got it from one of his players. Half the locker room is sick. I'm more interested in that entertaining exchange than I am in whatever answer Matt LaFleur gave, although we can circle back to that as the show continues. About to get to your phone calls, and I said we're going to discuss the Packers tonight and a lot of things that I want to get to. But also, it's New Year's Eve, so if there's any stories from the past year, anything that you want to get into, I'm happy to reminisce. But you got to bring it to the show because I've not prepared any material in that department. Text before we get to the phone calls. LaCroix Butler says, Happy New Year. LaCroix Butler and Cone Roller watching live from way above Highway 8. What is your 2026 sports resolution? Oh, this is good. The topic cousin of the Thanksgiving. What are you sports thankful for? My resolution, honestly, I should probably go to more games. But I'm going to sound like such a baby. They're so far away. Like Green Bay is not close to where I live. And the games are on Sundays, so then I'm getting back. I got out in front of this. I said I'm going to sound like a baby. You know what I love? Watching a game on TV. I can have my laptop in front of me. I can save sound bites from the broadcast. I didn't go to any games this year. I didn't go to a Packer game. I went to one Brewer game, and it was opening day, and they got shelled. I'm like, why did I even come to this? I've not been to a Bucs game. I've not been to a Badger game yet. I've been to one sporting event this calendar year, and it was opening day. And I think it was Elvin Rodriguez, if I remember correctly. So I probably should go to more games, but even you can tell in my answering this question, I'm really not that genuine about it. So that should be my resolution. I love when like Ryan Wood comes on and I'll text him things. He's like, you getting any games soon? Like, we'll have to meet up. I'm like, probably not, man. Probably not. But the stupid thing is like, I'll leave work on a Friday and drive 5 hours up to Hayward for the weekend. Like, for whatever reason, I don't have a problem with that. Go to the Twin Cities for whatever reason, but I don't know. I like watching games on TV, so I should probably be better about that. That is my New Year's resolution, my sports resolution in 2026. Thank you, LaCroix Butler, and happy to hear that you're up north. I'm jealous. 608-321-1670, Wisco Sports Show. Who's this?
Well, Grant, there's one less person just randomly hit you up on a Wednesday night with Badger tickets to go sit,
Well, that's true, Vagabond John. You did invite me to a Badger game 2 years ago. We saw the AJ Store dunk against Maryland.
That was a moment.
The rest of the game was there's not much, but that dunk was a moment for sure.
And the angle that we had, that was quite nice.
We watched Derek Queen, by the way. There's a chance he turns into an NBA superstar. He's flashed as a rookie. I mean, from clips that I've seen, I'm not going to act like an expert.
You and I will always have that. And the one time we hung out at where were we on Willie Street playing
Crystal
darts?
Corner.
Crystal?
I would.
You remember? I don't.
You were tanked. I would love to be at Crystal Corner tonight, but again, that's like 15 minutes from my house, and Ubers aren't cheap. And I sound like such a baby, but I would love to be there tonight. But I would need friends and money and energy, and I have none.
Well, reflecting on that, reflecting on the year, I'm always thankful that we have two awesome sports shows, one 6 to 10 a.m., one 4 to 6 p.m. And as a guy who works from a random basement in Minnesota, there is nothing better than starting and ending the day with my version of water cooler time, right? The remote workers out there understand it's it sounds awesome, and there's a lot of awesome things. I wouldn't trade my job. I wouldn't trade what I do for the world, right? But man, when you're just sitting there and the only people you interact with are on a screen, it's great to then interact with people via phone call, via Twitter, via once in a while
on other
community.
screens. Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, 100%. I
get to talk to you guys about non-work things. That's great.
That's true. I did listen to almost all 4 hours of the Steppies this morning. One of Ebo's finest productions of the year. You did not get a Steppy?
No, I've been there. I think let everybody kind of get their time in the sun.
Sure.
I'm Collar of the Year 2 years ago, so don't need to be Collar of the Year again. That would be a little bit too much.
Dave Fermona didn't even sound like he wanted it. He sounded like the award was beneath him.
Well, yeah, he's Collar of the Century. That's what he said, right? But
yeah.
Anyways, quick on the Packers. I put out the tweet earlier. I knew it was going to be unpopular with most, but what's new, right? The Wisconsin Badgers, right? Winning 8-9 games, finishing 6th or 7th in the Big Ten, getting a ReliaQuest Bowl, right? If you're a Badger fan online, if you're part of the large contingent of Badger fans online, that was basically meaningless, right? We wanted to fire coaches because we're stumbling through, we're finishing 6th or 7th out of, 16 or 18 teams, and that's just not very good, right?
Yep.
We are Badger fans. We deserve so much more. So then, Grant, for those same people online, when Bart Winkler goes out there and says, you know what, guys, finishing 6th or 7th in the NFC is like a bunch of years in a row is really not that impressive. And I know we want to crown LaFleur as this god. And you see these same people that would say, hey, finishing 6th or 7th in the Big Ten, that's garbage. And then they, hey, Vagabond, you are getting apples and oranges. That's what you hear all the time. And I'm like, yeah, it is apples and oranges. The talent and the resources are way more equal in the NFL, right? If you're going to compare, you want Wisconsin to compete with Ohio State.
Mm-hmm.
There's a tremendous gap in talent and resources and money, right? For the Packers to compete with the Eagles, right? We're working under the same cap, right? We're working with pretty much the same resources, sure. Small town, whatnot, whatever, small market, but nobody hates playing for the Packers. We've never heard that. So I refuse to think that making the playoffs as a 7th seed is some sort of elite measure of a head coach. I think it's a BS to basically be like, well, he's made the playoffs every year, so what do you want him to do?
Yeah.
I think we need to see something from Matt LaFleur, and I think we need to see it sooner rather than later. And I think he's coaching for his job, and I think there's going to be a lot of Packers. It's going to be fun. Either we get a playoff win, and that's kick-ass for Sports Talk Radio, and it's great for our team, or we lose the first round, which is also going to be fun. So I tell you what, as a guy who's thankful for Sports Talk Radio, I'm here for it either way.
I am as well, Vagabond John. I look for it. And that's what I said to Bill on Sunday. I said, this is going to be a great week because I think you can slam Matt LaFleur and claim that he should be fired at the end of this year. And I think you can defend him. And there's good ammo either way. I can't speak to the acceptance or the acceptance is probably the right word. I can't speak to the 7th seed in Jordan Love's first year as a starter and tell you that's something that should be tolerated or not. Last year, I think they ended up the 7th seed because they couldn't win in their division. Going 1-5 in your division is not okay, and we discussed that last year. I think this year, I've been on it for 3 or 4 shows in a row now. It's pathetic they didn't win the division this year. They should have won the division. So I'm not okay with it. I am not someone who thinks being the 7th seed every year is going to fly because you're not the level of a football team. In order to win a division, you need to be consistent, and you can't lose games that you shouldn't lose. Cleveland, Carolina, Chicago, like the Packers are the team that loses those games, which is why they're in the 7th seed. So I'm not okay with it, but I've seen a lot of Packers fans, Vagabond John, talking about like, well, they're in the playoffs every year. Well, but this was not a year. This is not a bite at the apple year. They just traded for Micah Parsons. Well, he got hurt. Yeah, but after they blew a bunch of games with him, like those are two separate things. The injuries are going to hurt their chances to win the Super Bowl. They shouldn't have hurt their chances to win the division to the point where they're going to finish the season 10-6-1 or 9-7-1. That's okay. That's not okay. One more call here, but first, Dave did win Caller of the Year this morning, and this was his 30-second acceptance speech that I did clip because it made me laugh.
I go back to I don't think Grant was even a sperm drop in then. When you had Jennifer, we had the first woman on Team Talk, and Sly, and Casey James, and Mike Keller, the biggest douchebag in Madison radio.
Dave?
Stop.
And now we got Grant. Now we got Grant, who doesn't take anybody's calls. Oh my God!
I'm not doing this today.
Dave,
I know, Grant. Those are idiots. Those are all people just you send them to the farm, them pick apples.
So I never heard that expression. Send him to the farm to pick apples. I like Mike Heller. I just found it hilarious that Dave was like, I'm caller of the year for this station. Screw Mike Heller. And it blows my mind that Dave has apparently been banned from all of the other sports talk radio stations in town. What are you doing? I love terrestrial sports talk radio so much. And it pains me that, yes, even my competitors out there are like, Dave from Monona, this treasure of a caller, this content machine, not allowed here. Are you stupid? So I digress. Congratulations, Dave is the Steppy winner for caller of the year, but it was beneath him. He said he should be caller of the century because he created sports talk in this market, which is, again, that's why I love his calls. One more call here on whatever. We're talking Packers, but a year in review a little bit if you want to do that. Vagabond John with a bit of that. LaCroix Butler as well. 608-321-1670. Wisco Sports Show. Who's this?
How an appropriate opening for me.
There you go, Dave. Caller of the century. You don't like Mike Heller? Mike Heller's a pro. Mike Heller does a lot of
dirtbag. I go back with the beginning of Mike Heller. Him and I got a history, and with Mike Heller, you watch your back. Hey, he got fired, so no. By the way, I was only banned on Mike Heller show. All the other shows, they can't get enough of me except they're boring as hell. Who wants to listen to ESPN Madison in the afternoon? We got you and Michaels and that ESPN Madison got a horrible lineup. So.
What did you do to get banned from Mike Heller's show?
Oh, Mike Heller, I made it personal with him because he did some things to me. I did some things to him. So when you make it personal, because Heller, I go back to day one with Heller. Without myself and the guy from Reedsburg, Mike Heller would be nothing. That's why his shows were boring. That's why he was fired.
Are you saying you created Mike Heller?
Oh, but I created every sports talk show host in this town since 1995. There's not a talk show person that hasn't been created by Dave from Monona. I mean, oh my God, that's Greg Gard. He knew me as Negative Man from Monona. I made Greg Gard who he was, so.
Yeah, I bet. I like Mike Heller, just for the record. But what else is up, Dave? Congrats on your award.
Someday you'll have to tell me why. But anyway, I digress. Now, a couple of things. One, I get a kick. Oh, by the way, Vagabond Seepage,
yeah,
that was a pretty good call. And by the way, you haven't made it until you go to a golf thing with Grant, and the blind guy's got to give him directions how to get across a green.
Oh my God.
So going to a basketball game doesn't cut it. But when you got Grant asking me, well, where do we go? Do I turn here? Do I turn there? And Grant's the kind of guy who can't find his ass in a phone booth. So they're Vagabond.
I don't even know. Anything else, Dave, before I let you go?
Yeah. No, two things. One, Billy Edwards, he's a chump. He took the money and run. I can't believe it. Another school would take a chance on him. And I'm worried about Badger basketball for the first year. Blackwell didn't show up because he took the money and run. They're not going to make the NCAA tournament, and I'm depressed because I like Greg Gard. So anyway, have fun tonight. I hope you enjoy yourself. And actually, no, I don't. What am I doing?
Thank you, Dave. Good call. I like Mike Heller. I don't know why I cut this audio, but
James and Mike Heller, the biggest douchebag in Madison radio.
Again, I do like Mike Heller. But the hell was I mean? Billy Edwards Jr. Why are people losing their mind over him transferring? I don't understand. That was always probably what was going to happen. Like, I don't know why anyone saw that headline the other day and be like, what do you mean? Which, by the way, I heard rumblings that Billy Edwards Jr. was transferring long before it was ever published. I think Pete Thamel just waited for a slow news day to put that out. That's just an educated guess. Not that matters, but I would just like to point that out. It was reported in November, and we had Colton on to talk about it. This Badger Extra had the story, or one of the outlets that had the story. I can't remember who was all there. I think maybe Mark Stewart, the Journal Sentinel, was there and had it, and Pete Thamel had it because Luke Fickle's boys got to get some access. Whatever. It was reported that he has a torn PCL, which I think medically was like a grade 3 strain. It was torn. And he was trying to come back, and then it would seize up and it would swell, and then they'd have to drain it. Like, it was bad. And this was reported widely. And now he transfers and he took the money and ran. That had been categorically disproven with so much of the reporting. And a lot of his team, like, everyone speaks highly of him. People didn't speak highly of Alex Hornibrook or others in the past. It's not like from players you always get the company line. Like, you'll get honesty. Or like Billy Edwards. Now, I think it's unfortunate that a school can pay 6 figures or 7 figures, however many figures for a guy, and then he plays like one game and then he leaves at the end of the year and they're just out that money. Like, yeah, I agree. That's a little effed up. But that's the system, and Billy Edwards is playing in it. He tried really hard to come back. He did come back, and his knee was so jacked up he couldn't execute a handoff without falling over. So, I don't get the Billy Edwards Jr. stuff. I don't know. I don't get it. I don't understand why everyone's reaction was so strong the other day, but maybe I'm naive. Maybe I'm the dope. Could be. I often am. One more call here. We'll take a break. Let's go Sports Show. Who's this?
Dean, I got a quickie.
Hey, Dean.
You mentioned earlier, I just started my carnivore diet. I'm probably like 3 days in, so I'm in that, absolute haze. And you were talking about your evening tonight. So my question is, what brand of chips do you go for, and what brand of salsa? And that's all. And you can sprinkle in some sports if you want. That's
whatever. Thank you, Dean. So Bill asked me at the end of the show earlier today, what are you doing for New Year's? I said, Bill, I'm going to answer this 100% honestly. I'm going to tell you exactly what I'm doing for New Year's tonight. I'm going to go home. And on my way home, I'm going to stop at Total Wine and More. And I would stop at Alpine Liquors in DeForest because this is the Alpine Liquor Studios. But that's all the way in DeForest. It's on the other side of town. And I have a gift card for Total Wine and More, and it's right around the corner at Westtown. So that's why I'm going there and not Alpine Liquors, which is the largest independently owned liquor store in all of the Madison area. So I would go to Alpine. I can't do it, not tonight. And I have a gift card. One of our salespeople gave me a gift card. So I'm going to go there, and I'm going to buy one or maybe I'll do a 4-pack. I'm going to get some sort of THC seltzer probably because I'm not going to get drunk by myself at home. I could do that, but no. I'll get one of the THC seltzers, probably the 10 milligrams. I'm going to get some chips and salsa because it's my favorite snack. And I'm going to go home and I'm going to play Call of Duty until I want to go to bed, which could be 9:45, might even be midnight, might get pretty crazy. That's what I'm going to do tonight. That's what I'm going to do. What types of chips and salsa? Well, I don't know. Depends on how big of a bill I run up at Total Wine, Spirits, and More. I would love to get Tostitos Hint of Lime and dip them. Yeah, because why not? We're gonna double up on flavor. But those bags of chips are like $7 now, man. My last name's Bills. It's not Rockefeller. I'm not Grant Menard. So I don't know. I don't know what kind of chips. Maybe I'll splurge. It is a new year. Maybe I'll get Hint of Lime. And as far as salsa goes, I like the stuff that you get at the deli, the refrigerated stuff. I also like the spicy cheese dip, the jalapeno cheese dip that comes in a can. I'm also a lover of hummus. So maybe I'll get a couple of dips. We'll see. That's my New Year's tonight. Thank you for asking, Dean. It's appreciated. I got a Packers take as we trend towards the offseason, something I want to discuss next.
This is the Wisco Sports Show with Grant Bills on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 5 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 4 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 3 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 2 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 1 minute. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 30 seconds.
It's funny you ask that, and it's funny you say like Jordan Love is the guy. Is he the guy who takes you to the next level? The reality of where we've basically fallen with the Packers, injuries or not, and it started trending this way when Micah Parsons was still playing, is that they are who they were last year and the year prior. They're an excellent offense, and they are a high risk, high reward defense that really uses Xavier McKinney and some of these other guys to rely on turnovers. And they've settled back in a slightly below average defense by advanced metrics and a really high powered offense. In the National Football League, particularly when you can pass the ball, that's enough to be a top 3, top 4 team in your division. The hope was that Micah Parsons could just eliminate passing in the playoffs because of how strong of a competitor he was. They don't have that eraser right now. And if you really want to look at our Sumer scores, at least, there's really one quality starter right now in the front 7. That's Edge Cooper. We're not seeing abundantly above average play from really anyone else on the defense. And so it really settles back to exactly what the Packers have been in the past couple of years, with much of the same personnel, albeit, but it's kind of who they are at this point. They're going to have a shakeup one way or the other, or again, Edge Cooper could ascend at some point. Some of these young players, Evan Williams as well, could really make the next step. I'm a little worried about Rashawn Gary and Quay at this point, but they are who they are. And so one way or the other, Micah couldn't be the eraser.
That's Sam Brookhouse on with Bill yesterday. Hour number 1, if you want to go find it in the podcast, is on at 10:30. And I have a couple comments that I cut from Sam. I played one last night about the Matthew Golden pick. I think that reality that he's describing, and it was a reality that he described earlier in the year too, The Packers are this year who they were the year before, but with Micah Parsons. The problem now is Micah's hurt. So they're really just who they were last year. I think their defense is probably worse. Well, they're playing worse than they were last year at this time. I think part of that is Rashawn Gary has regressed from being not a good player to a bad player. And players like McKinney can't catch the ball. Nixon can't catch the ball. Carrington Valentine can't tackle. And Edgerrin Cooper has not become a star. I think he's a really good player. But as we talked about earlier this year, it might have been with Sam or it might have been with like Dalton Wasserman, PFF. I can't remember who. It's like sometimes it's hard for a player at that position to make a huge impact. They're a middle linebacker. They're playing run fits or, they're sitting in a zone in the middle of the field. Like it's not a pass rusher. It's not a shutdown corner. It's an inside linebacker, right? So I think that's part and parcel to why this defense has trailed off. I think a big part of it is Jeff Hafley's got to get his arms around the thing. They know Shoden didn't try very hard on Saturday night, clearly. But the reality of the Packers being the team they were last year plus Micah Parsons is problematic for another reason. It's a team that can't make the 3 or 4 crucial plays in big games that they need to win. And I worry moving forward if Matt LaFleur is retained and this thing is going to continue as it has been, are they going to be able to come out on top of some of these games like Carolina, Cleveland, Dallas, Philly, Chicago a couple of weeks ago? Last year, the problem was the games in the division. They couldn't make a couple plays they needed to against the Vikings in their first matchup, their second matchup against the Lions, their first or their last game of the season, both against the Eagles. They had opportunities to win those games, and they just couldn't make, again, the 3 or 4 plays needed to win those games. So how does that change next year? I thought it would change this year because, well, everyone's a year older. Like Dontavian Wicks, Jaden Reed, Christian Watson, Romeo Doubs, a year older. Tucker Kraft, a year older. Zach Tom, Jordan Love. The execution level will be higher. The maturity should be improved because they're all a year older. And it hasn't really worked out that way. Now, they've been cleaner this year in certain respects, fewer pre-snap penalties, although they had some issues against Cleveland, but you'll have games where things just kind of get sloppy or the crew just, is eagle-eyed on this, that, or the other thing. For the most part, they've fixed the pre-snap penalties and the concentration things. But instead, it's like, okay, so we've replaced those mistakes with just good old-fashioned classic football mistakes. Like Josh Jacobs fumbling inside the 5-yard line at the worst possible time. Or Romeo Doubs not being able to field an onside kick. Or special teams gaffes, which weren't really a huge issue last year. Their special teams weren't dominating, but they weren't losing them games last year like they are this year. So how does the Packers team that we've seen from the last 2 or 3 years, which is a young boomer bust, offense with a lot of booms, don't get me wrong, but a boomer bust offense and a defense that, now with Micah Parsons gone now, it's hard to quantify them, but they've been a defense that you can move the ball on, you can possess the ball on. They force some turnovers and some negative plays, and they have to rely on that, but now they're not forcing the negative plays or the turnovers. That's who they've been the last 2 or 3 years. How is that reality different next year? And maybe Ed Policy and other higher-ups in the Packers organization, owners like myself, maybe they agree that this team can continue to grow and advance and mature and find more polish under Matt LaFleur while he's still the head coach. Could be possible, sure, totally. But I think the more likely scenario or more likely outcome now with the way the season is going is I think Ed Policy seriously got to maybe consider a change. Coming up at 5 o'clock, I'm going to play you a comment from Mike Clemens from earlier today. Sorry, brain fart. Where he talked about Ed Policy and the comment that he made at the combine to local reporters is like, did Ed Policy unintentionally put his guy on the hot seat? Which is what I brought up to Bill, I think, yesterday. It was like, if Ed Policy never would have said anything, would we be talking about Matt LaFleur's job status as much? I don't know. I think a lot of the issues this season would be the same, and we would treat them as Matt LaFleur issues. But I do wonder if Ed Policy doesn't make those comments before the year, maybe how differently this thing is discussed or is perceived. 608-321-1670, Wisco Sports Show. Here we go.
Hey, Grant. Happy New Year, Louie in Eau Claire. How are you, man?
Happy New Year, Louie. What's going on?
Hey, not much. The more I kind of think about this team, I think for the most part, intangibles are a little bit talked about too much, or leadership and all that. But the way Bill used to put it is, Mike Daniels brought the nasty. I don't see anybody on this team bringing any sort of nastiness. Okay. Nothing, no attitude at all. So a lot of times the offensive line sets the tone that way. Against Denver, the first drive of the game, that guy for Denver kind of not slams, but pushes Jordan Love down. Man, if that's Mark Tauscher or Chad Clifton or somebody like that, somebody's going to hear about that. TJ Lang, somebody's going to hear about that. Rashawn Gary kind of talking with a little bit of machismo last week, and that obviously falls flat because he can't bring any sort of credibility to the field. So if the players aren't bringing that, and Jordan Love doesn't seem like a real vocal guy, and Matt LaFleur's not bringing that, he played well, especially postseason time. There's got to be a little bit of an edge. I just don't see it at all, and I really don't see a source where it's coming from or where it could come from. Do you?
No, I mean, not really. I mean, Lucas Van Ness, I thought, had some strong comments the other night. Louis, I appreciate it, but Lucas Van Ness he's Lucas Van Ness. And I even think Mike Daniels wore some people out back in the day just because he talked so much. He was a good player. Rashawn Gary talks. I think Kingsley Enagbare the other night in the locker room kind of got on some guys' case, and Matt LaFleur had to respond and talk about that in his postgame presser. Not a lot of nasty. You are correct. You are correct, sir. And I think Micah brought some of that energy, but he's not there anymore. So no, Lou, I think you're barking up the right tree. I think they lack a little bit of that. And I think a week or two ago, you called in and said, well, no wonder they don't respond to adversity. They don't have any veteran players like they have in 2014. They had Julius Peppers, Clay Matthews. 2010, they had Charles Woodson and Donald Driver and all these guys who had been there, done that at the high level in big time games. I got time to take one more call before our last break here. Wisco Sports Show. Who's us?
Hey, Grant. It's Coyote Mike. How are you?
Good. Happy New Year's Eve.
Happy New Year's Eve. Hey, I just wanted to say I agree with just about 100% of everything you just said here in the last 5 minutes. That's where I've been kind of coming from all along, is that if you take the last 3 or 4 years of Matt LaFleur's tenure, you'll see a pattern there. And it started out with trends, and now it's become a pattern. And even Eric Baranchek said that earlier in the season, that you're seeing things that are becoming a pattern. Mm-hmm. And it's not like I want to see the guy lose his job, but I am so afraid that they'll go ahead and offer him an extension, and it's going to be the same old thing next year. And then the Packers are going to have to eat another 2 or 3 years of his contract and start all over, and we're going to be pushed back another year or two before we can actually make a serious run at getting past the championship into the Super Bowl.
Yeah. And I'm with you, Coyote Mike. And I appreciate the call. I'm up against it. I got to take a break. Have a great New Year's. Tom Silverstein wrote about this today, about the machinations of how an extension would look. I can get to that at the top of the 5 o'clock hour as well. It's complicated. It's not as simple as extend or don't. They would have to agree on years and compensation. And I think at policy, maybe at the end of this year would say, hey, let's just push this out a year. Well, Matt LaFleur doesn't have to agree to that. They do 2 years. They do 3 years. We'll get into that. And I think you're absolutely right, Coyote Mike. The window, what the Packers fear is they extend LaFleur, and then we're saying all of the same things a year or two from now. And they've kind of wasted some of these years away when I think they have a really good roster. We'll wrap up hour number 1 of the show next.
This is the Wisco Sports Show with Grant Bills on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 3 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 2 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 1 minute. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 30 seconds.
Wisco Sports Show, last couple minutes here. A couple of items that are on the table for the second hour, the final hour of 2025. The next time we talk, I can't wait until 6 o'clock when I can tell you all, I'll see you next year. Bill didn't give me a window to say that at the end of the show, and I decided best to not force it. Because Bill, I made that joke the last 2 years, and Bill's always like, okay. So I kept it in the holster today, but I will use it at 6 o'clock. 2 items that I want to get to in hour number 2. I want to go through Tom Silverstein's story today at the Journal Sentinel, where he talked about some of the machinations of what a Matt LaFleur extension even looks like. Now, the power structure within the Packers currently, everyone reported to Mark Murphy, coach and general manager, and that structure has remained the same. Ed Policy was asked about it in April at the Combine, or June, or whenever he was made available. I can't remember. And he basically said, we're going to keep that structure, but we could always change it if we want. I don't get the sense that he would give up power. Why would he? Just because people don't typically do that. But they could go back to the old structure of general manager hires and fires coach, general manager reports to president, and it could just be top down. So that's part of it as well. Tom Silverstein basically writing that Goody should be extended. That should be easy, which I know not everybody feels that way. So we'll get into that in hour number 2. Also a comment from Mike Clemens, and also your calls. Anything that you would like to discuss or reflect on from our year in sports and the year of the Wisco Sports Show 2025. Phone lines wide open. I won't make you wait. 608-321-1670. Hour number 2 coming up next. But first, an update from Zach Heilbrunn.
This is a Wisconsin Sports Zone update.
Well, it was a busy day off the field for the Green Bay Packers. Team made 7 roster moves official, including the signing of quarterback Desmond Ritter to the practice squad and signing quarterback Clayton Tune to the active roster from the practice squad. Also put Nate Hobbs and David Anderson on injury reserve. It was a signing from the waiver wire that was the most notable. They claimed 2-time Pro Bowl quarterback Trevon Diggs off the waivers. He was cut by the Cowboys earlier this week. Diggs has struggled in recent seasons, playing in just 21 games over the last 3 years, but Packers have a need at the position. Meanwhile, quarterback Jordan Love remains in the concussion protocol, but was a full participant in practice today. Malik Willis also practiced on a limited basis as he deals with a shoulder injury. Status of those 2 and many other starters for Sunday's game remains up in the air. Coach Matt LaFleur said he wouldn't know who will play against the Vikings until game day, but he admitted guys will know based on how the week goes.
I think these guys are pretty smart guys, and I think you get a pretty good feel throughout the course of the week in regards to what is expected at practice. We have formatted practice a little bit differently. We're going to have some more offensive, defensive, and uncharted periods as well as our charted periods. So just try to keep everything sharp.
Kick on Sunday against Minnesota is at noon.
Some of America's bravest warriors are returning home wounded. Here's one of them.
My name is Roberto Lara. While I was on a combat patrol, a rocket propelled grenade took my arm off at the shoulder. I was discharged from the Army, and I've been working with the Wounded Warrior Project since 2007. You don't have to be severely wounded. A lot of guys have post-traumatic stress disorder. Being able to share your story kind of helps you wrap your mind around what did happen over there. My name is Maury, and yes, I do suffer from post-traumatic stress disorder, but I'm okay.
Don't suffer in silence. Contact Wounded Warrior.
The Bucks facing off against Wizards tonight at Fiserv Forum. Milwaukee looking for a 3-game winning streak. Tip is at 7. With this Wisconsin Sports Zone Network update, I'm Zach Heil, Print.
Is it a relatively easy decision to go the direction you're going, or did you weigh it pretty hard? I mean,
I think you always put a lot of thought into it, especially, it's an important decision. But I do think obviously medical is going to drive some of these decisions for us. It is what it is, and you just got to make the best of it, and then you got to make collectively the best decision, what you think puts your team in the best position possible moving forward. Give Baltimore a ton of credit. They came in here and were in complete control of the whole game. It wasn't up to our standard in regards to how we played, how we coached, and that's what happens.
This is where Wisconsin gathers to talk sports. Packers, Brewers, Badgers, Bucks. The Wisco Sports Show is on the air. Now, here's your host, Grant Bills.
Yes. Hour number 2, there were some free donuts on the break room table. And no one's going to grab them. So if I didn't get there and grab them before the cleaning crew comes at 6 o'clock, they were going to go to waste. I couldn't have that. So sorry. Just give me a second. I'm going to take a drink of water. Chocolate donut. Not what I prefer, but free calories are free calories. Hour number 2, I want to get into Tom Silverstein's story, the Journal Sentinel today. Some really good insight on what a Matt LaFleur extension would look like if one comes to pass. And also a really good comment and a question posed by Mike Clemens earlier today. He was on with Bill in hour number 2. Great conversation. Would recommend you go back and listen if you missed it. But first, said I wouldn't make you wait. We got a caller waiting. And we're also reflecting, of course, today, New Year's Day or New Year's Eve. We're reflecting on the year that was in sports and on the show. I don't have any material on that, but if there's anything that comes to mind, I'm more than happy to discuss it with you. 608-321-1670, Wisco Sports Show. Who's this?
Grant, good afternoon. It's Corey out of Marshall.
Good afternoon, Corey and Marshall. It's been a little bit. What's up?
Just watching Michigan and Texas right now on the old boob tube here.
Is Arch Manning playing?
He is.
Oh, okay.
Not playing too badly either. So he's been running and stuff and getting hit, and they keep cutting to his parents in the stands every time he does. But anyways, I digress. So first off, why do you so there was an article that came out from totally off subject here from Adam McCalvey about Joey Ortiz and how they think he's still a reclamation, that he can be the guy. So I wanted to call and give you a compliment on one of the funnier quotes you've had in a long time.
Okay.
I think it was from this past summer, and I believe you had it pinned on your Twitter for a while. But he said, Purgatory is sitting in a small windowless basement while highlights of Joey Ortiz plays on an endless loop on a small TV with men on
Yep.
men on base. So that's why that always reminds me of that, because I'm like, that is probably what I would consider purgatory, yes, at least for baseball purists. So yeah, I guess we'll just have to revisit the whether Joey Ortiz can be the guy when June comes around and he's flailing away at 221 with 3 homers and 10 RBI.
3 RBI or 3 homers. I would take 3 homers from Joey Ortiz. They'd probably, if he hits 3 homers, I bet he'll hit them all in a span of like 4 games.
Yeah, it's going to be 3 homers like in the beginning of April, Grant, and then like it's going to be 2 months of just us sitting in a small windowless basement and just watching him flail away and hitting pop-ups and stuff. It's a good article though. Like, it's good insights as to why they think he can do this stuff. I just don't know. I just feels like sometimes we're just getting gaslit by the analytics side of things when, like, you and I have eyes. I've seen this guy now for 2 years, and I just don't know if it's going to happen. But
well, what's weird is he was having a pretty good rookie year. Corey, have a great new year. It's nice to chat. He was having a pretty good rookie year, and then he hurt his neck, and then they just had him stand differently at the plate instead of getting his neck healthy. And that's kind of insane to me. And we never really rectified that. Hitter's very mechanical process. It's like, oh, you can't bend your neck? Well, just stand differently at the plate. What? All of the parts of the swings and the stance are all fine-tuned. Yeah, just rotate your body like a golfer who can't hit a ball straight. It's kind of insane. My tweet was, hell is real, and it's just a windowless, unfurnished basement with a small TV that loops Joey Ortiz at bats with runners on base. Correct. And I do retweet that often because it's applicable often. Line number 2, Wisco Sports Show. Who's this?
Grant, Jeremy, how are you?
I'm excellent, Jeremy. Happy New Year. Early New Year's up in Eau Claire. Thanks for listening.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, you covered some great stuff yesterday, and I didn't get the chance to call in. I wanted to call in so bad, but I was deep in it. But, our worlds kind of collided this last year with Brewers baseball.
Mm-hmm.
And you've got the best show when it comes to Brewer baseball. And, I mean, Packers coverage is awesome, too. But there's other guys that are like, well, we cover Brewers, too. Well, yeah, you guys suck at it. You guys go sit in a bathtub full of cold water while I talk to Grant because he knows what he's talking about. So, but now we're talking about Packers, and there's just so much going on with this team. Oh man, it's nuts. Like, I don't know if the defense. We're talking about coaching a lot right now, but I think also talent comes into play. What I've seen late in the last half, that first half of the season, they were doing really well, but I think Halfley is either giving them stuff that they just don't grasp yet, or the talent just can't rise to the challenge.
Okay.
They're good, but not great.
Sure.
You know what I mean? And I'm wondering if that's not where we're at. I had the Packers winning at the beginning of the season 12 games this year, and that was giving them credit that was giving the Cowboys credit for a win there that week.
Yeah. They should have won 12 games. 9, they should have won 12 games.
Yeah, and to be at 9, I'm just like, what is going on? And the defensive collapse, and this is before Micah got hurt. You know, we've seen it. And I don't put it all on Halfley. I just can't, because I think he is a really good defense coordinator. I don't know if he's good enough to be a head coach, but he is definitely a really good defensive coordinator. I just don't know if, like Nixon, he started out the season really good, like great. I was like, holy crap, he's really turning it around. But he's fallen off, and he's just not. These players are not where they need to be. There's a lot of miscommunication. You got a guy in the end zone wide open, and they're just looking lost out there. So I don't know if he's scheming stuff that they just can't get their head around, or if they're just, I don't know. Not to be mean, but I just don't know if they're good enough yet.
So that might be true. And that might be true, Jeremy. I'm going to cut you off because I want to talk about that. And this is what I said yesterday. I understand that they don't have superstar talent at every position, and the guy who was designed to drive the whole thing, Micah Parsons, is hurt. I get that. They shouldn't be one of the worst defenses in football, which they have been since like week 11. They've been bottom 5 in a lot of categories, bottom 10 in a lot of categories. They have better talent than that. Great safety group, good linebacker group, corners that don't. I know everybody hates Valentine, and he played really bad on Saturday, but Keyshawn Nixon's not that bad. Like they do have some talent on this defense, folks. Way better than Joe Barry had 2 years ago. And Joe Barry got better results with that group than Jeff Halfley's currently getting with this one. And we wanted to rail him out of town, which I think was fine. I didn't think very highly of him, but let's call a spade here. 608-321-1670, Wisco Sports Show. Who's this?
Hey, Grant. Mad Max from the tunnels.
Mad Max in the Racine tunnels. Max, how are you today?
I'm doing all right. I'm a little fed up with winter right now. I'm just leaving work, and it's just that part of winter where it seems just to snow a little bit every day. We don't have a lot of snow on the ground, but it's just enough to make the commute annoying every day. And right now I'm just waiting for some ice to thaw off my car just so I can drive safely. I scraped a bunch off, but you can never seem to get it all. So I'm just kind of fed up with winter, Grant, but that's besides the point. I just wanted to call in and wish you a happy new year and just thank you for welcoming me into your community this year. I know we've talked for years on other platforms and we've even hung out a couple times, but it's been a lot of fun getting a platform on the show to educate the sheeple about what the elites are up to, and I hope I can continue to do that in 2026.
Well, Mad Max, I love having you, and I love the education. I thought you were going to make the case that this daily snow was a plot or a scheme by the elite, well, by the cabal, I guess, most specifically controlling the weather, obviously.
Yeah, I haven't checked in on the weather machine in a while, but it's possible.
Gotcha. Well, I know the government shutdown was kind of affecting that. You said that a couple weeks ago, I think.
Yeah, the weather machine stopped, and then like right after, if you remember, the weather got really crazy in like the following week that the government opened up. There was that huge lake effect storm in Racine and Kenosha, literally I think a day after the government opened. So I don't, if you believe in coincidences, so be it. But I think it's hard to ignore some obvious connections there.
Any plans for a New Year's Eve in Racine before I let you go, Max?
Not really. I think I'm just going to head out to my corner bar and just listen to a band and just chill a little bit.
That's excellent, Max. Well, Happy New Year's. I'm happy to have you as a part of the community.
Yep. Happy New Year, Grant. Talk to you soon.
Mad Max in the Racine tunnels. I would love to go to a bar tonight. In theory, it sounds like a blast. I would love to be on Willie Street tonight. In practice, Willie Street may as well be on the moon. I would have to Uber down there. And then, who am I going to go with? I have to recruit friends. But then, do you ever text people and be like, hey, do you want to go do this? And then they're like, yeah, sure. What are you thinking? And then you're making plans, and then you immediately regret it. It's like, why did I do that? Now I wish I wasn't doing this. But I've already invited this person, so I can't be like, well, now I don't want to anymore. So I am just going to go home. I'm going to get some snacks and food on the way home. I'm just going to go home. I think that's it for me tonight. So Mad Max, you are a stronger, more social person than I. Appreciate the call to wrap up 2025 from the tunnels. Wisco Sports Show. Who's this?
Grant, thank you very much for this 2025 year.
Yes, and thank you for many, many great calls and some great conversation, Denny and Holman.
All your knowledge.
Well,
your Bill, Ebo, RJ, Kate. I mean, you guys are all phenomenal, and it just makes a great, great team to be able to know that you could turn on the radio, speak your voice, and no one's going to call you a lunatic or an idiot, or it just it's a relaxing feeling. It really is.
Oh, well, I'm happy, Denny.
Hey, did you ever hear today? Did the Packers sign Diggs today?
They did. Yep, a little bit before the show started. So I should have mentioned that to begin hour number 2. That's on me.
Yeah. Well, I just wondered because I kind of thought with Micah, because it said they had to pay out like $580,000 and then some other whatever.
Yeah, it's like $500,000 for the rest of the year, and that's all that's guaranteed.
Right. But Grant, I really and truly believe from me and others that I've talked to that if things don't go good in the playoffs, it could be Goody and LaFleur.
Yeah, well, and we're going to get into this, Denny. So, look, I don't think the case for Gutekunst is as open and shut as a lot of people say. I think you can nitpick lots of things that, Goody has done or hasn't done. But I was reading Tom Silverstein's story, which we're going to get into in this next break, and he basically passes it off as a foregone conclusion. And I don't know that there are many Packers writers that I would believe. It's him and Pete Doherty probably, and Mike Clemens. Mike, not a writer, not a scribe, but a journalist, obviously in that traditional sense. But it would probably be those three. And Tom Silverstein basically passing it along as a foregone conclusion that Gutekunst, that contract should be done, done and dusted. That one should be easy. One more call here, and then we'll work towards that break, and we'll get into Tom Silverstein's reporting today. Wisco Sports Show. Who's this?
Grant, Tony from Texas, Denny from Holman. What a stud. Calling you out. No professional reset. We didn't hear anything about the Diggs signing.
Well,
is that what you said?
Well, it wasn't in Zach's update either.
So well, we don't have to talk about that.
Okay.
Hey, let's talk about New Year's. It's a new year. You like to evaluate your life after the year's done. Like, what can I do better? What went well? And I'm going to do with our favorite Packer team right now. I look at the Packers. I kind of look at our contemporaries. I don't even look at the North. I look at the Rams. And I look at the 49ers. Similar situations, similar type of coaches. Talent base is about the same, and they're doing more with their talent, Grant.
Mm-hmm.
You and I have been the floor guys. This could be the end of Matt if they don't pick it up and at least look good the next this playoff game, basically. And when I mean look good is they better compete. if they just give up. And yeah, I got free tickets to the game, Lodge Kohler and all that. But if I had spent $2,000 on that, I would have been so pissed. Cone Roller and I fly in from Texas. And it was so bad.
Yeah. How do you get rooms at Lodge Kohler, by the way?
I've invited you before, Grant. Cone Roller took me up on it. You talk to me when you see me. You've never even gone out with me. I'd hit the Racine tunnels with you. I don't get the invite. I don't get the invite for the Neil Diamond movie. I don't know. I'm low on the totem pole with you, buddy.
All I'm saying is that Big Ron once upon a time invited me to the Iron Horse. When have you ever? Now, you invite me to Lodge Kohler, but that's so far away, Tony.
Oh, Grant, you're now in the northeast part of Wisconsin. You got to branch off.
That
Lodge
is true.
Kohler, I mean, I get the hookup.
Well, it sounds like it. Well, I know you have lots of hookups. You've actually talked about that, something that you're trying to do less of, I thought.
It's a New Year's resolution, Grant. We're going to do our best. It's not going to end tonight, though. We got big plans tonight, so that's not going to end. But the Packers have got to get this thing back on track. That was an embarrassing game. This is what happened to McCarthy at the end.
Yeah.
It was with the defense. And I'm kind of with Vagabond John at this point. It's like, okay, I'm looking at these guys. They're not competing.
Mm-hmm.
What about fundamentals? What about pad level? What about tackling?
But I'm told that LaFleur is not the leader of men. Jeff Hafley is, but his unit no-showed on Saturday. So how do I make sense of that? That's all I'm wondering.
I'm going to leave you on this because Matt LaFleur doesn't usually give you much. And I think he gave us this year. Complimentary football. I think the defense was so pissed from the week before. They said, screw it. We're not going to try that hard. And then the offense is like, we got to play better. And they did. And it proved once and for all that Malik Willis, and I think you're starting to come around to this, for the short term, is a better fit for this team. For whatever reason, they can't run the ball. I don't know if Jacobs is washed, but Malik Willis was throwing dimes. Probably one of the most fun I've ever seen a quarterback I've had since Rodgers.
Yeah.
Maybe Love against the Cowboys in the playoff game. The crowd was going nuts for Malik.
Yeah,
it was fun to watch that part. Unfortunately, we couldn't stop anyone.
Yeah, that was a bummer. If Malik Willis, imagine if Matt Flynn had thrown for 6 touchdowns back in the day, but the defense had given up 7 or 8. That would have been a bummer. We wouldn't remember it. We wouldn't talk about it. But yeah, Malik Willis, I had a ton of fun watching Malik Willis. It was the other half of the ball. I'm sorry that your stay at Lodge Kohler was ruined. We'll get into more of this coming up next. Let's do Tom Silverstein's story next. And then Mike Clemens gave us a little nugget earlier today that I want to get into, but we can do that later on in the show. 3 minutes. We'll be right back.
This is the Wisco Sports Show with Grant Bills on the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network.
The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 3 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 3 minutes. This Go Sports Show will resume in 1 minute. The Disco Sports Show will resume in 30 seconds.
Over the as reps came from Malik Willis, I really think it's difficult to say that he would be markedly better than Jordan Love. The reason why is we've really only seen 4 to 5 quarterbacks, at least as it pertains to expected points added, which is a team stat and is wrapped up in Matt LaFleur's play calling as well. But we've only seen that success be hit by players like Brock Purdy, like Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson in previous years, etc. Jordan Love has at least performed in that metric extremely well. That metric explains a lot of team success. As a result, given the inconsistencies we've seen with the offensive line and wide receiving core, I think you can give Jordan Love some credit there. So I for one, am not calling for Malik Willis to start or Malik Willis to sign a $30 to $60 million contract with the Packers and take over as the quarterback. But it was a very good game.
Sam Brookhouse on Malik Willis. Just a little analysis to feed Tony's never-ending obsession, love affair, or just, general support of Malik Willis as the Packers starting quarterback. A couple of texts here before we get to Tom Silverstein's reporting and story today. It's less reporting. There's some reporting in there, but it's just more his commentary, which is important because it's as informed and backed with history as just about anybody's. Rick from Spencer says, Grant, you had to produce a postgame for Bill, and you thought the callers were angry and myopic. I wouldn't use the word myopic because that's word of the day much. I would say miserable. Said, you should have heard them back when Bill and Brian Noble hosted the official Packers postgame. Back then, it was the only game in town, and the callers were so hostile, and their takes were usually bad. Also, back then, you'd have to listen to Favre's postgame press conferences on Real Player. We're spoiled with the access we have today. Have fun playing Call of Duty. I will. Thank you, Rick. Jay Krebs says, Dave's right. Mike Heller is the word. I like Mike Heller, but that was a very funny, again, Dave accepting his steppy this morning, if you would like that one more time here.
I go back to I don't think Grant was even a sperm dropping then. When you had Jennifer, we had the first woman on Team Talk, and Sly, and Casey James, and Mike Heller, the biggest douchebag in Madison radio.
Dave?
And now we got Grant, who doesn't take anybody's calls. Oh, my God.
I'm not doing this today.
Dave?
I know, Grant. Those are idiots. Those are all people just, send them to the farm, them pick apples.
Gordon Lacrosse says, is it wrong to say that if the playoffs weren't expanded, that Matt LaFleur would be let go after last year? This would have been the third straight year of missing the playoffs, and Jordan Love never would have been a playoff quarterback. I know it's a big what if, but it's important to think about. I think as Packers fans, we believe Matt LaFleur is magically going to turn into Kyle Shanahan, and he's not. I think he's still better than most coaches in the league, but he needs to make some noise in the playoffs this year for me to be confident going into next year. That's fine. I don't think Matt LaFleur is situationally a bad coach in any given environment. Like, I don't think, Matt LaFleur is a great coach, until he gets to the playoffs, then he crumbles. I don't believe that. I think the problem with Matt LaFleur, my issue with Matt LaFleur at least, is that over a 17-game sample, at least the last 2 years, you can bake in 3 or 4 losses that shouldn't be losses, which means you're winning 10 games instead of 13. You're winning 9 games instead of 12, which means you're the 7 seed instead of the 2 seed and winning the division. So that's my problem with him. Zach in Altoona says, I don't really know what to do with the Packers' current struggles. Part of me sees how well LaFleur can work with quarterbacks. Since the quarterback is the most important player on the team, that seems to be a pretty important component of head coaching. I would agree, but as I said yesterday, not the only component. But then if you also look at the last 3 years when Green Bay has been the youngest team in the NFL and their season has ended pretty much the same way, you start to wonder if maybe the youth movement doesn't work with this particular group because they can't stay healthy, which should be the most reliable component of young players, even if they are more prone to unpredictable mistakes. I agree with that. What's the point of having a super young team if everyone's getting hurt anyways? That's a great point. I appreciate it, Zach and Altoona. So I think we have a really talented roster of super young players that are also super injured. About the only thing I know for sure is that Micah Parsons is a beast when he's playing for us. Go Petco, and Happy New Year. Some excellent points. Thank you, Zach. I agree. This text says, how are we blaming LaFleur when Goody is whiffed in high-value rounds and also thought that this quarterback room was okay to go into the season with? Well, I will. That's a perfect bridge to get us into Tom Silverstein's story, the Journal Sentinel, earlier today. I wanted to read you some of this. And I am struck by just the first couple of stanzas here on Brian Gutekunst. He says, the toughest decision Ed Policy will have to make in his short time as Green Bay Packers president is coming up. How Policy deals with general manager Brian Gutekunst's contract shouldn't be a problem. Moving on. Decided what to do with Matt LaFleur's deal, however, is complicated. In 2026, Gutekunst and LaFleur will be entering the final year of contract extensions they signed in 22. Policy can easily justify a contract extension for Gutekunst based on the talent he has amassed, starting with draft picks like quarterback Jordan Love, receiver Christian Watson, tight end Tucker Kraft, and linebackers Quay Walker and Edgerrin Cooper, and trades he's made for quarterback Malik Willis and edge rusher Micah Parsons, the latter of which may go down as one of the NFL's best this century. Policy could even decide to hand the keys of the franchise to Gutekunst and scrap the three-silo organizational chart previous president Mark Murphy created with Gutekunst. LaFleur and executive vice president rest ball, all according to him. So early on, you have Tom Silverstein setting up this story and saying Gutekunst should be extended. In fact, maybe he should just be in charge of the whole thing. Matt LaFleur, a lot different. So again, just interesting. The Packers went to 3 Super Bowls, won 2, and finished with a winning record 17 times in the 22 years GMs Ron Wolf and Ted Thompson oversaw the entire operation. They have been to 2 NFC Championship games and have had 6 winning seasons using the current structure, but have not made it to a Super Bowl. Regardless of whether Policy changes the structure, it's a good bet he will work out a long-term extension with Gutekunst. The LaFleur situation isn't cut and dried because the 7th-year head coach holds a great deal of leverage. Here's why. This is good. If Policy tries to offer a LaFleur a 1-year extension, LaFleur will undoubtedly reject it, figuring he could do far better on the open market, whether it's this year, should Policy decide to fire him, or after next year, when the Packers stand to be Super Bowl contenders. So at that point, Matt LaFleur would basically said, either fire me or let me coach this year as a lame duck, and I'll get the market next year. And I would be interested to see if that's what it came to, if Policy would do it. He said previously he doesn't want a lame duck, but I wonder if circumstances would change his mind on that. If LaFleur were available the day after the Packers season ended this year, he would have a new job in less than a week. He would instantly be the best offensive head coach and could almost name his price in Tennessee, New York, and Arizona. I'm not sure about that. I don't know that to not be true. I just think this happens way too often when coaches are about to be fired or we're talking about teams moving on from coaches. Well, I'll have a new job tomorrow. Will he? Vrabel didn't. McCarthy had to take a year off. McCarthy won a Super Bowl in Green Bay. I know he's not some young, hot-shot offensive guru like Matt LaFleur. I know he's a bigger guy from Pittsburgh. But McCarthy had to wait. Vrabel had to wait. Belichick didn't get a job. Very different, I know. But we always assume that all these guys will get hired right away. And sometimes yes, but a lot of times no. LaFleur can develop quarterbacks, as he's shown with Love and Willis. And his .665 winning percentage, third best among coaches, would be an easy sell to any victory-starved organization and its fan base. Policy said in a group interview with Packers beat writers prior to camp that he prefers not to have a coach or general manager serve as a lame duck. He didn't cite specifics as to why he'd be against it. But I just think about the weekly questions LaFleur, the front office, and the players would have to answer regarding his status. Every 2-game streak, win or lose, would create a new narrative. And if the team was consistently doing well, it would put enormous pressure on Policy to meet LaFleur's demands. LaFleur's exact salary isn't known, but agents who have coaches as clients believe he is making between $8 and $9 million a year. His first contract, according to a source, was worth about $5.5 million, and he received a raise when he signed a 4-year extension in 2022. Since then, coaching salaries have skyrocketed. There's 7 who make more than $15 million, including Andy Reid, Kyle Shanahan, Sean Payton, John Harbaugh, and Mike Tomlin, according to one source. The next tier makes 10 to 15. It includes Ben Johnson, Mike Vrabel, Nick Sirianni, and Kevin O'Connell. All 4 deals signed in 2025, so LaFleur has some catching up to do. If Policy wants to sign LaFleur to an extension, he's going to have to offer him 10 to 15 million per year, and it's going to take more than one added year to get him to accept. Quote, if they're offering 1, I would hold out for 3 and maybe agree to 2, one agent said. Policy might getting away with offering just 2, say $30 million total. LaFleur might take the higher yearly salary thinking he could cash in again in 3 years with either the Packers or someone else. If the two sides reach a stalemate, policy could agree to let LaFleur shop the open market and demand a draft pick from the teams who signs him. It happened with Peyton when he broke his contract with New Orleans and went to Denver and Holmgren in 99. Or policy could just let LaFleur play out the final year of his contract and deal with the distractions. I wonder if the injuries this year and circumstances now have Ed Policy feeling like that's more of an option than maybe he did when he made those comments before training camp. If the Packers bomb out in the first round for the second straight season, Policy will have some questions about how far LaFleur can take the team. Even though injuries have played a major part in the Packers' late season troubles, the team would have finished second or third in the North for the fourth consecutive year and entered the playoffs as the seventh seed for the third. Were it not for the NFL going to a 17 playoff format in 2020, the Packers would not have made the playoffs in each of the past 4 seasons. This is an interesting thing, and I think this has been a point. If you're anti-LaFleur now for a year or two, you've been harping on this or should be harping on this. Policy will also need to take into consideration that of the 8 current longest tenured coaches, only LaFleur and Sean McDermott have not made it to a Super Bowl with their present team. That's the thing going against LaFleur, I think. The biggest of big picture, if you just want to say he's been here too long, hasn't gotten it done, probably won't happen, you'd almost certainly be correct. NFL history and precedent would be on your side. Policy's dilemma, if he's running out of patience with LaFleur, is with whom does he replace him? Good grammar, Tom. Who among available coordinators or unemployed coaches would be better than LaFleur? Most of the top candidates, Robert Saleh, Jesse Minter, Brian Flores, and Chris Shula, are defensive coaches. Packers have a long history of hiring offensive coaches, and maximizing Love's talent is imperative given how weighted the rules are towards offense. And then he talks about, Jeff Hafley and, maybe that, but I don't know. I don't love that idea. Just a little background from Tom about how the extension could work, what it would look like if it's offered. And also, again, he's not even taking the time to question whether or not Gutekunst should get an extension. He just thinks, yeah, that's one that you should just be done and dusted with already. Which I think on principle, I would agree. And maybe for the purposes of Tom's story, he's like, well, we could nitpick Gutekunst, but not for this story. I want to talk about LaFleur, which is fine. We can nitpick Gutekunst on the show. I still think he should get an extension. I think this was a Super Bowl roster. It's been weakened by injuries. It's not perfect, but no roster is. Imagine that. It's a hard salary cap sport. 608-321-1670. Your calls on the other side of this break as we continue to talk Packers and ring in the new year. Well, hold on. We just got a call coming in. We got a little time before we can take a break. Let's go right to it. 608-321-1670. Wisco Sports Show. Who's this?
This is Brad from Chippewa Falls.
Brad? Hey, Brad. Sorry. What's going on, Brad?
So, hey, I got a hot take.
Okay.
On with the Packers and everything. Are we seeing a decline in the Packers play because of the 18-game season? When we go back to the 90s and everything, it was 12, 14 games and stuff like that. But now that we're at 18 games, should the Packers be, resting players in certain games and stuff like that, so that way we can get to the postseason?
I think maybe with someone like Josh Jacobs, you could give him a week off when he was banged up like they did against the Vikings. are you just supposed to give like load management days, Brad? Is that basically what you're saying? I just don't think that works in football.
Well, like in the NBA, they do load management. But in, with this 18-game season, we're seeing a lot more injuries based on non-contact. Is it due to too much play?
Probably. I don't think it helps. Just listen to coaches and players talk about it. I think they all say, I just don't know what the fix is. I don't think load management's ever going to be a thing in the NFL, and I don't want it to be. You could add a second bye, and that might help a little bit, but I don't know that that's going to make a huge difference.
Okay. Well, that's, one thing I see is that these players are constantly getting hurt, and we're seeing more non-contact injuries. Is it because their bodies are overworked?
I mean, probably, yeah. Brad, probably on some level. No, I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm just trying to figure out, I appreciate the call. I'm just trying to figure out what possible solution there is other than just like designated rest days, which is lame. I don't want that because now the product is inflated. There's more games, so they mean less. Guys are sitting out, so the games feel like they're less, representative of how good the teams actually are, which is the NBA's problem. I can tune in and watch a primetime game between the Celtics and the Hawks, but like If Jaylen Brown isn't playing and then Trae Young isn't playing, well, why am I watching? Because even if it's a great game and it comes down to the wire, like, what did we learn about either team? Nothing. Because the best players aren't playing often for one or both teams, or a lot of supporting cast players aren't playing. I don't want that in the NFL. Wisco Sports Show. Who's this?
From the lakes of northern Canada to the shores of Mexico. Father Grant!
Rico, how are you?
Just calling the end of the year. You know, heard about your little sad plans for the night, and I thought I'd just come and call and cheer you up.
Sad. I'm going to relax, get some peace and quiet, some R&R. Hey, I saw the Neil Diamond movie. I thought of you. That movie is awesome, by the way, with Hugh Jackman and Kate Hudson, Song Sung Blue. I know you're not a Neil fan, which is fine, but the movie is, wow.
You would.
I went with my parents. Of course I would. My mom wanted to see it. It's crucial to the fabric of Wisconsin history. It's about a couple from Milwaukee.
Whatever. Okay.
Whatever. So, what did you want to talk about? Seeing you're not interested. Fine.
No, I'm really not. You know,
no,
you know,
fine.
my thoughts about Neil.
Yeah.
No. Just a couple things I thought about that, about your sad night tonight. I know you said rest and relaxation, but anyhow, that's okay. You can do what you got to do. Okay. The thing about your uncle, totally good advice. Not touching the minnows until after you put the chaw in.
So God, dang it. So I posted a video on how to rig a tip up, and it's important for both gutting deer and rigging tip ups. You put a fresh pinch in before you start, before you get your hands all bloody, or before you start handling minnows. You are correct.
There you go. Let's see what else. College basketball is over. It's like really minor league, so who cares?
Okay.
You know, it's worthless. You know, it's just like, it's not, until they get it fixed, it's going to be not worth watching.
Death to amateurism. 100%. Yeah.
I don't care about the amateurism. We all knew they're supposed to get paid. They should get paid.
Okay.
Because they've always been a minor league feeder system. The problem is development, and that's what ruins both college basketball and the NBA. So that's why it is a watered down, worthless view of entertainment. So it's not worth your time.
Yeah. But I like Jack Janicki and John Blackwell. So I guess there's
no idea who you're talking about.
Badgers players, Rico. Come on. All right. What else? We don't need to harp on this. What else?
Oh yeah. By the way, Happy New Year.
Yeah. Well, happy. That's a good call, Rico. I love how Rico. So you only call every once in a while, but when you do, it's like you want to catch up on all the things that we would discuss, and we talked every day. I did post a video on how to rig a tip up. It's on Facebook, and I tweeted it as well. Song Sung Blue is a good film, as I talked about in the Monday mailbag the other day. I just know Rico hates Neil Diamond, but I bet you'd like the movie, Rico. That's fine. Wisco Sports Show. Who's this?
Hi, this is Ron from Eau Claire, Wisconsin.
Hey,
First-time
Ron.
caller.
Well, a pleasure to have you.
Thank you. Hey, I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I've been trying to think about how well our coaching staff is for the Packers and how well the players are, and people talk a lot about injuries. Is it a situation where our next player up is not as good as the other teams, like Chicago? People said they have a lot of injuries, but maybe their talent is better than our second-string talent. I don't know.
I mean, that might be
I just
true.
wonder.
That might be true. I also think, like with the case of Micah Parsons, it doesn't matter if your third-string edge rusher is excellent. The drop-off there is just going to be immense because Micah Parsons is so good.
Yes.
I guess I wouldn't know about the Bears' depth. I think the Packers have great depth at safety and pretty good depth at linebacker, and their depth at corner and on the defensive line stinks. So I think they're deep at some areas, but quite shallow at others, which would be true of every team. It just depends on where your injuries hit. Do you get lucky to have no injuries, or do your injuries hit at positions where you have depth? I don't think that's been the case for the Packers this year.
I agree, because I was thinking my main thought was the D-line just couldn't do it. And I just thought, man, is that big of a drop-off? Okay, I was just wondering.
Oh, well, that's a great call, Ron. Call back anytime, anything you're ever wondering about. I think the fact that Jordan Riley feels like a gut punch of an injury, or what the hell's his name? I think it's Jordan Riley. Like, that just shows that their depth is, it wasn't great at the beginning of the year, but now without Parsons, and especially now without Devontae Wyatt, too, on the interior, they're scraping the bottom of the barrel. One more call here, and then we'll take a break. Wisco Sports Show. Who's this?
Ridge Runner, Mark. How are we doing, sir?
I'm excellent, Ridge Runner. How about you?
Good. I was just something popped in my head from the recent call about the defensive line. Have we looked at the aspects that these guys haven't played together? I mean, we talk about it with the offensive line when they got to shuffle things around. The guys aren't on the same page. I wonder if that's the same problem that our defensive linemen are having, is they're not cohesive in what they have to do, and that's leading to a lot of the mistakes and a lot of the problems they're having. Talking about road or load management and that, if they really wanted to fix it, I get your point where a second break or a second bye week would not do that much difference, unless we know they're not going to get rid of Thursday night football, which they should, because that's horrible.
I like watching it, though. I like watching it, though.
Right. But what you should do is you should tie the bye week into that somehow, where they have that extra rest coming up to the bye week, coming up to the Thursday night game.
Okay.
Like their bye week is the week before, so they don't play that Sunday because the Thursday is their Sunday. So they have that extra time off baked in with their second bye. And maybe that limits the number of Thursday night games you have. I don't know, but that could be a thing. And with Matt LaFleur, I really lean into what's the solution, who's going to replace him. And is it that, or is it, do they need to take a hard look and say your support team around you is not up to snuff? Like
His
bring
staff?
in a different, fresh voice with the offensive coordinator.
Sure.
Rich Bisaccia, maybe we got to find a new voice for special teams, or maybe we got to bring in a grizzled veteran to be an assistant coach to kind of be in his ear and say, yeah, now is the time to go for fourth, or yeah, no, now keep doing what you're doing because it's working. Don't overthink it. Maybe that's the shakeup that needs to happen, because we know LaFleur is a proven talent given how much he's won versus how much he's lost. And maybe he just needs that added mix of a different OC or a different special teams or someone like a quality management coach or game management coach or something to kind of put him over the edge and give him a new perspective for playoff time, or just to kind of raise him up that much more.
So you could rotate through staff members, and I appreciate that, Ridge Runner. So I've seen a lot of people like, well, they need to replace Adam Stenavich, or they need to play. I think you can do that. I wouldn't hate it. I wouldn't hate this offseason if they shuffle around the staff, get healthy next year, add some depth. Every team gets healthy and adds depth. So you're not really finding a massive edge, although the health that you're getting next year is Tucker Kraft and Micah Parsons. That's better than most teams can claim coming back off of the injury list. I just wonder if it's not a half measure. That would be my fear. Like, is improving at offensive coordinator who's not calling the plays and going through another special teams coordinator. Like, at a certain point, man, like as a head coach, you got to figure it out. As an organization, you got to figure it out. And the Packers have shown they can. I'm woefully late for a break, so we'll be back just a couple of minutes.
This is the Wisco Sports Show with Grant Bills on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 5 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 4 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 3 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 2 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 1 minute. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 30 seconds.
Wisco Sports Show, we got a nice surprise. Mike Clemens is here. Thanks to the Bay Motel in Green Bay. Make your reservation, baymotelgreenbay.com. Take advantage of the Bay Family Restaurant as well. Some Packers news today. They claimed Trevon Diggs, so they're bringing in a new corner. Mike is here to provide us with the latest. What do we know, Mike?
Well, I thought I had a story because Jordan Love still hadn't, cleared the concussion protocol, and they bring in Desmond Ritter, who's Falcons and some Raiders time, and some coaches here already in the staff, et cetera. But Trevon Diggs, I know that's been out there for maybe 48 hours. They released him yesterday. Brian Schottenheimer, the coach, was asked, and by the way, Trevon Diggs, the positives, 20 career interceptions, which might be more than the entire secondary of the Packers outside of Xavier McKinney.
Yep.
So Schottenheimer was asked after this incident about getting on a plane last week after their game on Christmas Day, was asked, why did you release this guy you just paid 2 years ago?
Yeah, I just, in looking at it, we came up with the decision. It was really a culmination of multiple factors, performance, other elements. He's been an incredible player for this organization. And I truly do. I like Trevon a lot. I wish him nothing but the best. And I'm, excited to see where he lands and watch him continue his career.
It seems as if that he wanted to stay in the D.C. area, and apparently you said no. How was that play a factor into what ended up doing?
Yeah, it was one of many factors. It was not the only factor. I'm not the Grinch that stole Christmas. Okay, I love Christmas. I love my family. But at the end of the day, we have a protocol that we go through, and the process was not followed. First time I heard about it, Trevon, grabbed me after the game, and I'm celebrating a big win. And I explained to him the protocol, which has always been the protocol of we go up as a team, we come back as a team. And he decided to make a different decision. But I'll say this, Calvin, it was not the only reason that this decision was made. I'm going to say this again. This decision that was made was very difficult. This decision was not made because he chose to not get on a plane. That was not the only factor involved.
But Mike, he didn't say that was not a factor. The other factor that you mentioned was performance. So basically, is he saying, well, he's not playing good and he, wanted to go be with his family. So those two things together.
I talked to a buddy of mine in Dallas, said, there was times where him and Micah were working out outside of the team during team workouts. They're close.
Mm-hmm.
They're close. So, Micah was getting disgruntled as well. But, the Cowboys beat the Commanders on Christmas Day, and Trevon Diggs is from Maryland, from the D.C. area. He goes up to coach on Christmas Day and says, I want to stay back here with Grandma and Grandpa. No, we all get back on the team plane. That's our thing. And maybe that was the last straw. So let's see. They are working. They're busy here tonight in the office. Not exactly popping the champagne at 12:65.
Well, and say that I know he hasn't been good at covering this year, Mike, but if someone throws him the ball, unlike everyone else in the secondary, it seems he is capable of catching it. We know that. So maybe that's what we can tell ourselves as we get ready for Sunday.
In the meantime, Nate Hobbs, who they paid all that money to in the spring, put on IR with the knee and ankle injury. So
good thing he got some reps in a kick returner. That was my thought when I saw that. Like, I don't know why they had him back at kick returner, but whatever.
Happy New Year to you.
Happy New Year, Mike. Thanks for the time.
Bye-bye.
Mike Clemens, thanks to the Bay Motel in Green Bay. Quiet, cozy, comfortable, and less than a mile from Lambeau Field. You can make your reservations, baymotelgreenbay.com. Interesting sound. Thank you, Mike, for getting that. That's Brian Schottenheimer explaining his reasoning and the Cowboys' reasoning for releasing Trevon Diggs, who is the newest member of the Green Bay Packers. We'll take our final break of the show, and we'll come back and wrap up 2025 next.
This is the Wisco Sports Show with Grant Bills on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 3 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 2 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 1 minute. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 30 seconds.
Last couple of minutes of the show. It's been a heck of a year. Packers traded for Micah Parsons. He did get hurt. The Brewers won a franchise record number of games and won a playoff series for the first time since the show's creation in 2018, and yet they feel farther away from a World Series than ever, which is odd. Another year that Giannis is still a Buck. I suppose we shouldn't be surprised. Badgers football kind of remained the same. They maybe got a little worse, but I think they just sucked as bad as last year. The schedule just got harder. So that much stayed the same. There are some great consistent things in our life, although Badger basketball might test that. Ebo's always been the guy. Well, top 5 finish in the Big Ten every year in basketball. That might be, I'm not sure. They might be mid. I need to see more of Badgers hoops. I haven't fully and completely and totally locked in on them yet. By the way, I've been surprised both on this show and in Bill's. People who really think Brian Gutekunst sucks at his job and deserves to be fired. Well, he's missed on draft picks. Guys, I don't mean to be demeaning here. Every general manager misses on draft picks. Every single one. Not first round picks. Let me tell you a little story of the time Howie Roseman once selected Jalen Reagor in front of Justin Jefferson. Do you remember that? Of course you do. You're just choosing to ignore it. So Bill's been doing battle on his show with some of the commenters and the texters. I mostly just ignore it. But at a certain point, you guys. Brian Gutekunst signs bad free agents. Until this year, you could argue that his best trait was his free agent signings. Both of the Smith brothers, Adrian Amos, Xavier McKinney, Josh Jacobs. Now, Nate Hobbs and Aaron Banks have been disappointing, but those guys also weren't signed to be superstars. I think the bigger issue on the O-line is the other pieces were let down. It's like complaining about the 7, 8, 9 hitters in the lineup when the 1, 2, 3, 4 hitters are playing bad. Like, I don't know. I'll focus on Elton Jenkins not being very good and, Sean Ryan maybe having some bad snaps at center. I just, the Brian Gutekunst say, look, you want to come after Matt LaFleur and say that the Packers should maybe move on if this season continues to trend the way that it's trending? It's fine. I think this week, for the first time in the show's existence, I am probably more willing to hear it than ever before. But the Brian Gutekunst, he's got to go too. His roster sucks. Man, I guess sometimes I just don't know what to tell some of you folks. He hasn't been perfect, but no general manager is. Not a single one. Not even the best general managers in football. So I'm sorry. I can't help you. I have nothing for some of you. Apologies. Have a great New Year's Eve. Hold your loved ones close. Maybe go out on the town and count down with everybody before giving your loved one a kiss. Or maybe enjoy it home in front of a roaring fireplace. I'm going to go to Total Wine, get some CBD seltzer, THC seltzer, and go home and play Call of Duty. Happy New Year. I will talk to you next year.